WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, X, and our website, www.wvtcdetroit.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users.
You're building the empire,
and we'll help you protect it.
because even the most powerful women
Still have trust issues. And we'll help you protect it.
because even the most powerful women
Still have
trust issues.
Yes.
Listen,
Yes.
welcome back. Welcome to another episode of Trust Issues. I am Erica Hall with EH Wealth Advisors, and I'm here with my girls.
Yes.
With a Z.
Yes. Attorney Urenia Ricks Johnson with Ricks and Associates. And I'm so excited because
Me too.
I have a fellow Ricks and Associates person here today. Yes. My law partner, Attorney Lori Waddles. Welcome.
And thank you all for having me.
Well, we're
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. Yes. We're so excited because
You know it's going to be good the way
it's
she
gonna
said
be
thank you for
good.
having me.
I'm so excited because Lori has a wealth of knowledge, and
Yeah.
she is here today to kind of assist us to talk about a specific area of the law that I always refer to her. Or
'Cause it's not your cup of tea.
it's not my cup of tea.
Okay,
It's not my
okay.
area. It's not my
Okay.
area. But I think that it's important for us to know our areas, know our
Yes.
strengths,
Oh,
know our
yes.
weaknesses, and to
That's
be
how we
able to
excel.
have what we've incorporated with trust issues is in 2026 we've incorporated a trust circle
Mm-hmm.
where we are bringing on professionals, and we are recommending and putting our weight behind the professionals that we work with.
Yeah, that
And
we
having
know.
them be a part of our trust circle,
Yeah.
because knowing what law you want to practice and what area you want to be in any profession is very important. I think that after years of experience and trial and error and trial by fire, you kind of get to your niche, your area where it's really you really know where you are becoming that expert in that field.
Oh,
So-
yeah, that's very, very
Yeah,
important.
so I'm so
and people do
excited.
business with people they know
Mhm.
and trust.
And they know and they trust. And
Yeah.
we are excited because I'm so excited that we're able to launch the Trust Circle and premiere our first guest and the first person that's
You're
a
our
part
first
of.
guest.
Yes,
Oh, wow.
you are. Yes.
I'm
you
gonna
are.
kick it off with the
Yes.
the powerhouse.
Yes, the powerhouse of Attorney Lori Waddles. She has a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience in the area of family law.
Yeah. So listen, today, since we have you,
Yes.
let's dig into the nitty gritty, the real deal. So today we're gonna be talking about family secrets, family law secrets. Okay.
Okay.
The stuff the family don't want you to know. I don't know why it's why the things that we need to share turn out to be taboo. I don't know why it's taboo in the family to talk about money. I don't know why it's even if you try to say, well, because we didn't have any. I don't know, why it's taboo to talk about the details of the specifics of where everything is, because knowledge is power. Knowledge is power, and so we're going to be breaking some myths and spilling truths and giving you some tips today that can literally change your life.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It is very important. Like you said, a lot of times people don't want to talk about, I know in my area of estate planning, and the good thing about it is that I have a law partner that we kind of do estate planning together a lot. So,
I bet they do connect.
they
a lot
do
of times
connect.
overlap.
And a lot of times it's the issue of the divorce child support and things, what happens when someone becomes disabled,
Yeah.
what happens when someone passes away, and to be able to bring those two things together has been a great thing with having Lori a part of Ricks and Associates. So that's been a wonderful thing. So today we're going to just dispel some myths. We're going to talk about those family law secrets, and we're going to talk about our main thing of talking about this is just making sure people understand a lot of times what lawyers can do for you when it comes to family law and what they can't do for you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I think that we have that misconception of what lawyers can and cannot do. So today we hope to help somebody.
Indeed.
All right. So you ready to talk the real?
I'm ready to talk the real and the real.
Real. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Because we're not just talking about divorce.
No.
So I mean, people think about that and think about, it's about protecting your peace and your pockets. And so I think we're gonna talk about some things other than divorce, right?
Hey, shoot it at me.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, so let's go for, first of all, let's talk about when people first start having maybe issues or things like that, and where they start to think about separation, or just kind of think about something that's kind of going awry when it comes to a relationship. When should they start considering or talking with an attorney or getting an attorney involved?
Well, yeah, I mean, that has to do with with psychology and behavior. And when you realize that while you have the greatest intentions for a relationship to last,
Yes, we do.
that somehow, some way, you guys aren't seeing eye to eye, and that it is no longer advantageous for you to stay together. I think the first thing, obviously, is communication with that other partner.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
Sounds
terms
good.
of the direction that you both want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then with regard to the legal impact of you separating, it's important, if you will, to consult with an attorney in terms of the division of assets that you may have. And that may be a home, that may be bank accounts, that may be
Yes.
pensions that either of you have earned.
Okay.
And that may have to do with custody if you have children.
Yes.
Okay.
That may have to do with visitation with those children once you all split up. And those are really the main issues that need to be discussed. And that's a full menu of items. And that's why it's important even just to consult with an attorney before you file any legal documents.
Yeah.
And that's
I'm thinking
so
of a
important.
song.
What's the song?
It's cheaper to keep her.
Well, and
Oh,
you know what?
yes.
And that's exactly
Keep
what some people believe because of that list of issues.
Mhm.
Those have legal consequences.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people decide to stay in a relationship for whatever reason.
Mm.
That might not be the healthiest thing behaviorally and emotionally.
Yeah.
But some people do adhere to that song.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of things that go into it. And you mentioned something a few minutes ago about when you reach that point or when you make the decision. So you've made the decision that this is irreconcilable.
Indeed.
And now you're ready to take the next step. And the next step should be calling your attorney.
Calling your attorney and figuring out all of the parameters and permutations of that list that I just gave, because all of those things have to be considered, and you don't want to be caught unawares when indeed, if you file the paperwork, now all of a sudden you're like, wait, I didn't think about this. I didn't think about that. It's better to be, get better to have the knowledge once the legal papers are filed. Now, that's not to say you can't withdraw them, but yeah, it is important, I think, and intelligent to talk about all of those factors, because you may decide, well, no, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to stay with my mate. And if you want to go ahead, it's important to get the best legal advice.
Yeah. So as a disclaimer, though, we are giving legal information today. There's
That's
no
correct.
specific legal advice. You have not retain Ricks and Associates, but you can do so.
Yes, you
You
can.
know, you can follow up from this interview if you have any questions. So as long as we're giving legal information, if you want to comment, and make sure you like and share this broadcast, and make sure that you put your comments in the chat if you have some specific legal information that you may want to know about family law. Today we have the expert on that may be able to give you some legal information today. So
Indeed.
Yeah,
please,
especially when it comes to the children, yes,
Absolutely.
assets that you've obtained or that you've acquired after you've gotten married, things
Right.
you brought into the marriage. I know some of y'all have some questions out there, so yeah, put them in the chat. We're waiting. We're prepared. We ain't scared.
We're not
Ah.
scared. We're not scared. And
No,
you know,
no.
a lot of times the dynamic can be very family. I have a litigation matter even that I was handling today
Mhm.
that had to do with the father and daughter. And the rift came in when he remarried.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was regarding some property, and he had he originally got some bad advice at the beginning, because what he was trying to accomplish was trying to leave the property to his daughter
Mhm.
if something happened to him,
Yeah.
but he ended up deeding the property to her. So of course, when she never had any access or anything like that to the property during that time, but as soon as the rift happened, what she wanted that property, and
Yeah.
and it was that rift, and he is just outdone because he's just like, what the agreement was, but if you don't have that in writing,
Absolutely.
the writing says that you meant to give it to her.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. It's
So
not in
just,
writing.
you
And,
know,
and minds change, and situations,
situations
relationships change.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so the
that's-
writing should change.
So the
How about
writing
that?
should
should
change.
So the
Yeah, that's
update.
good.
So at
That's
that
good.
point of when you first thought about what was happening and what the things that were happening, you needed to have that conversation to say, okay, well, even if they had did it jointly
Mhm.
from that standpoint, and they had a right of survivorship type of thing, but there was nothing in there. It was plain
Yeah.
that he gave it to her,
Yeah.
Indeed.
right?
Yeah.
And so once you give that gift, we can always say shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Right.
Very
But
much, because
yeah.
relationships can change,
Mhm.
and
And
I
your
know,
intent can change.
yeah, your intent
Mhm.
can change, and a lot of those documents, such as life insurance policies and 401k accounts, that those are with their own custodial documents. Like, I can't open up an IRA account without you putting a beneficiary on it.
Right.
But it's required when you open the account, and that beneficiary will never change until you change it.
Absolutely.
And see, people don't know that, too.
If
That-
you remarry
Mhm.
and you have a new spouse, and you still have the old spouse
Hmm.
on your life insurance policy, on your IRA, your 401k, that's who it's going to.
Right. So,
And
and how does the law work with that? So, if it's on the divorce decree that that should be separated, what happens if they don't do it? What happens if the spouse doesn't do it? It doesn't make that change.
Well, first, let me say that in every divorce judgment, there is a section that says that each party is responsible to affirmatively go in and change those documents.
Okay, so it's a
And if you
responsibility.
do not
Okay, got
change
it.
those documents, then say, for example, a party marries someone else
Mhm, mhm.
and they don't change the document and they expire, then the ex-wife is getting that money if
Yeah.
you don't change that document.
Wow.
So I've had a situation like that where I had a client, and she and her husband divorced. They both obtained counsel, and it was in the divorce decree that he had to leave her on the policy because they had minor children when they divorced. And so, but it was up to her attorney to press the other party, let us see proof. We want to see proof. Send us proof that this policy still exists. Show us who the beneficiary is. And that was their due diligence to make sure that they were honoring, at the time,
Mhm.
honoring the divorce decree.
So what you're saying is that the wife was to be left on there,
Yes.
or it was to be for the benefit of the children?
Yes, but they were minors.
Okay.
And so it was deemed that the wife would stay on that policy. So the way they split assets is that he agreed to keep that policy intact for her and the children.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did
Okay,
he
what-
do that?
Yeah, he did that.
So what happens when they became adult? Did they have a provision in there, like when the children became an adult? Let's say that he didn't pass away during that time
Right.
period. So was there something in, do you know if it's something that that could be put in a divorce decree that says if they reach 18 that he has a legal obligation, he can change it? Or
Again, whatever you all want it to be,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be spelled out.
Has to be
In
spelled
other
out.
words,
Yeah.
the next provision should be once the children obtain the age
Okay.
of consent,
Mhm.
then it shall be changed.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
whatever that document says, it has to be abided by.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's it. And that's exactly what her attorney made sure to get proof that the policy was still intact. He hadn't changed it, and would do that on a periodic basis to make sure that they were following the decree. But I understand what you're saying. If they don't follow through and do what was ordered, those are custodial documents.
Yes.
And so I jokingly say in a lot of my women and investing workshops and check though this is your first marriage, check the beneficiary because it's his mother. She's
Right.
And if it's your second marriage, check the beneficiary because it's
Could be
first
the
wife.
Yeah. Right.
Or he could have named the children, and if the children are minors, we still have an
And then
issue.
you got to go to go to court because
Yeah.
minors can't take by law. So, unless they have a trust or something like that set up. So those are important too. That's why it's always good to do that check review of those key documents that you have, because if you have minors on there, something happens, you still have to go to court at that point.
Yeah.
So, and you don't want to have to do that.
As a matter of fact, you just made me think about the the workshop that we're doing this coming Saturday. That's one of the checklist items I have on the financial readiness work checklist or toolkit that you go in and you're checking to see who's beneficiary on your employer papers, on your investment accounts, because many of us, we did that stuff 5 years ago, 7 years ago, when we started working. We don't remember who we put on as a beneficiary. And then I found out that a lot of employers may change providers, and they may change a provider at your annual enrollment, and you did not put a new beneficiary on those,
all the new documents.
on the group, the group life insurance or things like that.
So then you're stuck in litigation.
Yes, in probate court. So if you don't have it, if they switch and you don't have a listed a beneficiary on there, it automatically defaults to the probate court.
Yeah, it's not always just set it and forget it. It's a thing that we need to check on a regular basis.
And I tell people all the time that you do not want to leave your personal business, your personal assets in the power of a judge. Not to say that judges aren't fair, but why would you want to do that? Why would you want to have a third party be in control of your life and what you want? So it's always important to make your intent very clear.
Yeah, because it's obvious that I was just thinking as we were talking about the life insurance policy, like, why is it that they allow people to put minors, because you have to put the date of birth, you have to put their information, their profile information on the custodial documents. Why is it that the insurance company would allow you to put a minor on there? And I guess it's because you're the owner of the policy. You can pick and choose who it is. But I think that there should be it seems like they're not going to pay the money out to the minor, but they don't let the insurance insured know that at the time.
But I think that there may be a legal issue with that because of the fact that they will be kind of given legal advice.
Yeah,
and they have to be careful with that.
Yeah,
they have to be careful with the standpoint of, well, they told me. Like telling people that, and they don't have the proper license or proper credence in order to give that type of advice.
Yeah,
so I think that sometimes
insurers are not lawyers.
Yeah,
they're not lawyers.
So insurance, they're not lawyers, and they normally have to, just kind of give the information and let the client kind of choose what they want. But definitely it's that fine line of, okay, this is gonna be more troublesome than it is worth for you to do it this way.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here, I've been on both sides now since I lost my dad, with being a beneficiary and being the institution that people call to find out.
So you're both.
If they are a beneficiary. And so I'll just say, with the most recent experience, and I sat there while my father filled out the POD pay on death documents, and so I know who the beneficiaries are. And I notified them. But the insurance company was not going to notify them.
Wow.
Right? They weren't going
Really?
to notify them.
Okay.
And so I asked them, because they wouldn't tell me who it was, because I was only one of the beneficiaries, right?
Right.
And so they said, so I said, they told me, they said, we can tell you how much it is, how much you're getting. We can tell you how long it's going to take, and we can tell you how to claim it. But we will not tell you if there are any other beneficiaries, and we will. So I said, I just want to know, will you notify the other beneficiaries? They said, no, we do not notify beneficiaries. Beneficiaries should already know.
Wow.
And see, those are the things, and that's the reason why, from the standpoint of the estate planning, that's the reason why I tell clients all the time, if they have a trust, list the trust as a beneficiary, because of the fact then you know that it's taken care of from the standpoint of somebody that you trust.
Yeah.
Because you trust that trustee.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you said that person. But if you name different people and then you don't necessarily tell them,
and they don't
you
know,
could be an heir and not even know it.
Right.
So them not notified, and then is that all that money ends up going to, that's the reason why it's so much money with unclaimed property.
Right.
Because they once they get that notice, they're required, it depends upon how they're required to give notice. Like if they're not required to do a whole search for people,
not at all.
They're not required to do any of those things. That's why it's so important to, if you have a plan, and you should have one, that plan has everything together, and you have that trust listed as, that's the best way, because then the trustee gets all of those funds. Gets all of those funds.
Yeah.
And then distributes it based on, if you want to give people whatever you want to give them.
Right.
It goes to them, as opposed to it just being all over the place.
Right. And so this is why you have this frantic search. At the time of, some family issue happening, the person is either incapacitated or they're no longer here. And now the family's scrambling, trying to find everything.
Right.
And okay, so this particular institution told me that they're not going to notify the beneficiaries, but they're once they receive the death certificate, they're just going to cut the check and send it to the latest address on record, which both
for
of those,
everyone.
For everyone. But the addresses on record were incorrect.
And they were probably from years ago. And if you don't have a forwarding address, unclaimed property. That's where it goes, because that check is never cashed.
It's never going to be cashed, but not by the right person.
Well, I was going to say.
I mean,
that could be
huge. Yeah, exactly.
I know one of the persons who was a beneficiary, their name has changed because it got married.
Legal. Oh, wow. Yeah.
So because of my knowledge of knowing, because I had the documents, the historical documents to see, I notified them and said, hey, you got 10 days to contact them and update your information before they send it out in the wrong name or they send it to the wrong address. But they weren't going to, they weren't. I was just curious.
But you had to be that proactive person. But a lot of people, that's like not the norm.
No, because you don't know.
So I'm saying the average person, that's why it's very important that you have that plan, because it's so much money that's out there that people never claim.
Look, they never even knew that they were supposed to get.
Yes,
right?
I'm an heir all this time and I didn't know it.
Yeah, very much so.
Right.
And I think the importance of what we're doing, we're doing is we're trying to go. We don't want not one more dollar to go to unclaimed property.
Not $1.
Now,
because if you have how much, you have $1. You have an estate.
You have an estate.
Yes. And where is it going?
Very good.
Very good. Yeah. So let's get into a little bit more of why kids should not be used as a weapon. Now we hear all the time about sometimes there are issues that happen between relationships with father, mother.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and I'm going to tell the story about why I don't practice family law.
Okay. Baby mama drama.
Okay, because I worked for the UAW Legal Services when I first started out.
Yeah.
And we had 2 weeks off for vacation. And when I came back from off vacation in January, my mailbox was full of voicemail box was full of people calling saying, Attorney Rick Johnson, I need you to file something because they were 30 minutes late bringing my daughter back. Attorney Rick Johnson, we need to file something right away because they're not answering the phone. They're not answering the phone. Make them answer the phone. It was those petty things that I was listening to that I decided right then and there that this may not be for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But there is someone for you.
Yeah.
That is able to handle those things. But I saw early on that I felt that sometimes the children are caught in the middle and the children end up losing overall because they're caught in the middle of this. So talk to us about why it's very important not to use kids as weapon when it comes to family law, when it comes to litigation and custody.
Well, you know what I was going to say, in terms of having the wherewithal to deal with human behavior, I think one of the advantages that I have is that I have a degree in psychology.
Okay.
And the reason I have a degree in psychology is because I've always been fascinated with human behavior.
Yeah.
And I also think that by God's grace, I have been gifted with a certain level of discernment in terms of being able to speak to people where they are and to keep the lines of communication open. I say that to say that when I speak with my clients, even as we are drafting a judgment of divorce, I let them know that it, again, is to everyone's advantage to be very specific about what the parameters are in terms of parenting time, in terms of visitation, in terms of custody, and that it is important that they not put their kids in the middle, as you said. And we even have a provision in divorce judgments where it says that you are not to speak to your kid, speak ill of the other partner to your children. Like that's in black and white.
Wow. And that's great.
We have to, well, and there are some attorneys that do not include that.
Okay.
But I am one that does include that particular provision.
Yeah.
And I talk with my clients about that, especially if I'm aware that there is some, tug and pull with regard to the children. And as I've expressed before, when I have to deal with those kinds of voicemails or those kinds of alerts,
you get them too.
It's like, right. It's just like, you know what? I'm going to need you to focus on the mental health of your children.
That's good.
Because children are affected and they become adults that have problems, if you will, with relationships because they have witnessed from, whatever age of the back and forth with mom and dad and having to choose and listen to negative things about parents. So I definitely use my psychology hat to counsel them that you have to put your children first. You have to put their mental health first. You have to give them a chance to grow up and have normal relationships because it's a trickle down effect.
It is.
In terms of if you grow up in that kind of environment, then you may have a problem relating to other or having relationships with other people. So I think that I use the attorney and counselor aspect of my career path to do both. Advise legally, advise behaviorally.
Because I don't think we really know it, but would you say that one parent doesn't have more parental rights than the other during the divorce?
Well, actually, before there is a divorce judgment, both parents have an equal right.
Equal right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of actual finalizing of the divorce, there is one parent that may have custodial rights with the children, meaning that's the party that the kids live with.
Okay.
But generally, even unless there is some child abuse or something like that, generally both parents have what are called legal rights with the children, meaning if something happens to the child, both parents have to weigh in terms of decision, whether it's medical or what have you, educational, everything like that. They share that right.
Yeah.
Now, do they act like that? Not all the time, but again, it's up to me,
Sounds
somebody
like we
like
know
me,
it. Right.
an arbiter,
Yeah.
to remind that no, you can't, in other words, they have to give insurance cards to both parents.
Yeah.
They have to talk about everything that goes on with the child, and they have to learn how to agree. And again, put the kids first, not their own feelings.
Help us.
Help,
Yes.
yes. And
Help
that's so
us
important
today.
because
That's education.
putting the children first should always be the objective.
Yeah.
Right. Putting that, but sometimes we get clouded. Sometimes we get, because relationships, divorce, people talk about how, I know probate is death, but with a divorce, because it's a separation, it's a tearing apart.
Ooh,
Indeed,
yes.
it
You
is.
know,
It is.
and then sometimes when you don't even have that, you don't have that necessarily relationship, but you have relationships that have just still been went awry because it didn't work out.
Did not
And
work
you
But
out.
grieve that loss.
But it's still like a grieving process,
Yeah.
and you still
You
have
definitely grieve that
that
loss.
process where you're thinking about what could have, would have, should have happened when it came to that relationship. That sometimes the child gets caught in the middle of that cloudiness of the relationship, but always keeping that first. And oftentimes, because we talked about how the court looks at that too as well. Don't they look at like the best interest of the child?
Oh, absolutely. There are 12 best
Okay,
interest
12.
factors.
Oh,
Yes.
12.
That basically the court will look at, among them, I will say there is a best interest factor that talks about the probability of a parent cooperating with the other parent.
Oh,
Okay.
so
In
that's
other
one of
words,
the factors. Okay.
Yes, it is. And if you have shown throughout, shown the judge, shown your attorneys that you ain't about to be fair,
Mm-hmm.
then that's a problem. That's a factor that's going to go against you.
Yeah.
Okay.
When the judge is analyzing the 12 best interest factors.
Oh.
And you may lose out if you acting a fool.
Oh.
So don't act up.
So
Right.
yeah, do
Don't
not
up.
act a fool. That's one of the 12 best interest
Right.
factors.
No baby mama, no baby daddy drama.
Right.
None
Yeah,
of that.
but I can say this, that I think sometimes it's easy for us to say that, being on the outside looking in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the fact that you kind of help people to work through it,
Well,
because
absolutely.
relationships, they do go awry, and people sometimes they are dealing with that, and they're not thinking about all the time as far as what that best interest of the child is, or even if they are, they're thinking that they are
The best
the
interest.
best
Interest
interest.
of the child.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
as opposed
That's what I
to
was thinking. That I'm the responsible parent. I'm the one that makes sure they get. I make all the doctor's appointments. I make their lunch, and and so I am the best interest of the child. I'm going to provide stability. I'm the one that give them stability. I have the child, my
I had
children
the
all the time.
Right.
Right.
And then I had
And
the
I
child.
gave birth. I carried him
I
for
gave
9
birth.
months.
9 months. I carried
And just
you.
make the assumption that
No charge.
that I get more.
Sorry.
Hey.
Nah. All right, Shirley.
Shirley.
But I think as a mother, we probably sometimes more naturally think that we would have more parental preference or what have you. But I'm glad to hear what you're sharing, because it's educational.
Well, and I'm going to tell you, there have been numerous occasions where I have had to really hunker down
Mm-hmm.
and talk somebody down in terms of like a mother saying, oh, well, he don't know nothing about this. And
Yeah.
they ain't even got nowhere to sleep over there and blah, 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 blah. But it's just like, but that's their father.
Yeah.
Or that's their mother.
That's good.
That is
Mhm.
the person that you chose to procreate with. So guess what? First thing about your child and what's in the best interest of your child, and the fact that that's that person's parent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it takes I think an attorney with good communication skills to be able to move people in a direction of making sense.
Mhm.
And and I will say that I'm decent at it. Sometimes people are more difficult than you want them to be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think that that's an important skill.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
It
important.
definitely is something you've developed over
Absolutely.
your time in the business.
in the business.
Yes,
Indeed.
yes.
Yes.
So, well, that's good, because sometimes when a person's flying off the handle, having a peaceful arbiter to
Mhm.
come in and help us recenter
And I will say that there are some of my colleagues that don't have those skills.
Okay.
You know, just like everybody that becomes a police officer, a doctor, a
That's true.
lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
they don't necessarily have those kinds of communication skills. So I
Yeah.
think that it's important, again, when you sit down and you're consulting with your attorney, well, what kind of person is this?
That's true.
How about that?
That's it. That's important. That's
Yeah.
important. And so tell me about
Yeah.
there is a lot of people that we may deal with, because I know we spent a little time working with legal aid and defenders, and we dealt with a lot of clients that had to do with domestic violence.
Yes.
And I know a lot of times there are a lot of things out there, a lot of myths, that we do understand that, and understand that, there are situations where people are in very grave or desperate situations,
Yes,
right?
Indeed.
Concerning their children. But there are some things that they can do. But there's also some things that I think that sometimes the misconception is that because there's domestic violence between partners or between ex-partners, that automatically stops custody, or that automatically stops some
Right.
things. So just go with
that's
us
a good
and
question.
let's talk a little bit about on if there is a domestic violence situation, does that automatically cut out custody for the other party?
Surprisingly, it does not.
Oh,
And
okay.
again, I have found out through experience that even though
Yeah.
there has been either allegations or
interesting.
proof of domestic violence between those partners, unless the domestic violence has spilled over to abuse of the children, judges will rule that, again, that other partner still deserves to parent that child.
Yeah.
And now, if there is grave instances of domestic violence, maybe there's another solution, like supervised parenting time.
Okay.
Like if that person has shown just a tendency towards violence,
Yeah.
and there have been numerous reports. Again, it's a weighing of the evidence.
Yeah.
Okay.
So indeed, they do have parenting time facilities where a person can go to that facility and meet with their child.
Oh, really?
Yes, indeed. And so, I mean, there are different parameters or different levels that you can deal with. But yeah, to answer to your question, just because there has been domestic violence between those parties, unless it has been proven that there's a proclivity of that violence toward that child, or that there has been violence toward that child, then judges will rule that that person still deserves parenting time with that child.
Wow.
That's a good point.
Wow. And that's a good point. And that's not to do away with the fact of people being in some very difficult situations at difficult times. And we're not endorsing anything that's happening, but they need to understand what that law is, instead of trying to necessarily go for that. Maybe try to do things in another way, just to make sure that they keep themselves safe. But and also, if there is an issue with the children, making sure that they keep, that they are at the forefront, making sure that they understand, and making sure that the court understands the best interest of that child.
Absolutely. I mean, and again, it's a matter of documentary evidence. I will say this because I've been in cases where there's been instances of domestic violence, and for whatever reason, there was no police report filed. Or, for example, if a police report was filed and then you decided you didn't want to press charges.
Yeah.
Those are things that I have seen judges say, oh, well, she didn't file a police report. Well, then it didn't happen.
Oh,
she didn't press charges. So that means that, it must have been okay. Again, document everything. If somebody has put their hands on you, you need to let the authorities know. And when it comes time for that person to answer for those actions, press charges.
Yes.
Because it can be used against you if you do not.
Right.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Wow.
And how effective are personal protection orders? So is that something where if there is a issue with that and the person feels that they're in jeopardy, how does that work when someone has children? If there's that PPO and they don't necessarily want to be around that person because of what's happening, but they have to be able to see the children. How does that work with the personal protection order?
If there has been a custody order and a parenting time order, where in fact there is a PPO between the parties.
Yeah.
Generally, what will happen is the court will pick a police precinct
Okay.
for the exchanges to take place,
Okay.
so that they can be supervised in that way.
Okay. So it can be a supervised option from that standpoint.
Now,
for
I've
the
seen people get into it in the
And
parking
police-
lot
yeah,
of the
Ooh.
precinct.
station. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just acting a fool.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the police are there
Yeah.
because that's why you have it at the precinct,
Right.
so that the police can intervene if there's some issue.
They just gonna act up at the police station.
Acting a fool.
Wow.
You know, again, and that's one of those voicemails.
Wow.
Miss Waddles, he
Uh-huh.
jumped out the car, he did this, that, and the other thing. And again, me being an attorney in my office, I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
You know, but
And
that's
you
why
right at the
you
police
would,
station, right?
right.
Right.
And so
You-
that's why you suggest or you require that the exchange take place where there's some kind of law enforcement nearby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
That
those
makes
neutral
sense.
locations.
Mhm.
Okay. I want to talk about the money.
Okay.
The money, hiding assets,
Mhm.
or just, you know, when you get to you know that you've been told, your mama told you, baby, you always gotta have a little something on the side.
Right. You gotta have a little
Look
stash.
here.
You know,
little
look,
stash.
always have we all have the same.
Yeah,
do.
have a little stash.
little stash. So having hiding assets or not divulging where everything is, or if it was an emotional abusive situation where you had to start planning your leave
Exit,
or whatever, planning your exit. Let's talk a little bit about what that means as far as how it's when you're preparing to be represented well for a divorce.
Well, here's the thing. Generally, during the period of litigation, once the divorce has been filed, what I will do is ask for bank statements going 3 years back,
Okay.
so that we can figure out what money was there 3 years ago
Okay.
up to the present.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if there's been a sudden movement of a bulk of money someplace,
Yeah.
where did that money go?
Where'd it
Yeah.
go?
Even with regard to 401ks, people
Mhm.
taking out great, 401k loans from their 401k.
Yeah. What is
Where'd
that?
that money go?
What is that? What if they take that money out and
Mm.
use it like I'm gonna take me a trip?
Listen,
or I'm
from a certain date, whatever that amount was,
uh-huh.
you will get the marital share of that. If you've taken a loan out, then that will be a part of what the half or what the
Okay.
marital share is.
Yeah.
Yeah, to
absolutely.
share.
So yeah, it's
Okay.
important again to do the discovery in terms of what the finances look like several years ago up to the present day.
Yeah.
And if there's been some shuffling, then it'll come to the fore.
Oh yeah, I truly believe that. I was telling you, I think the last show that I had a client reach out to me to move an account, but she made the mistake of letting me know that her
Well,
husband
right.
filed divorce, and I'm like, well, hold
Oh,
on now, you not get me in this. We're gonna wait until the dust settle, and then we'll make moves after the decree has been.
Yeah.
Show me
It's
the
what is fair.
quadro.
It's
the
what money,
quadro. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
what money has been earned during the marriage.
Yeah.
That is whether, just like you said, it's $1
Uh,
or it's $1 million.
$50 million. Regardless of the fact, So tell us about like the premarital. Let's say you have a premarital home. Let's say that you have different things that you may want to protect going in. Is there things that we should tell people or let them know that they can maybe take advantage of let's say they in love and they about to take it to that next step? What kind of things do you think that people need to have discussions they need to have?
Yeah.
Again, with regard to documentation that we
Mhm.
mentioned earlier, there is such a thing as a prenuptial agreement.
Prenup.
And basically in the prenuptial agreement, we will say, this is what I had before I got married.
Okay.
This is what you had before I got married. And even what your intent is with things that you acquire during the marriage.
Okay.
Okay.
So you can talk
All
about
of that
in
can
there.
be laid out.
Okay.
Now, I will say that even in the absence of a prenuptial agreement, generally, whatever property was owned prior to you can produce deeds. You can, again, produce documents to establish that, and that is not property that the other party can have access to, and
That's not
vice
considered
versa.
marital property. Okay,
Yeah.
well that's
Right.
good. That's
Okay.
good. Now, what about from an estate planning perspective? Can you have, let's say that you have a property that you've been left as far as an inheritance from like your family member, and you don't necessarily want it to be considered marital property? Is this something that can be done in estate planning documents to protect that?
Well,
property?
absolutely. I mean, if it's documented, then it's clear.
Okay.
But generally, a property that has been inherited, again, the other party does not have a right to that property.
In general,
Legally,
okay,
yes.
legally, okay.
Mhm.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. And I think that the main thing is it could be an issue where it may not be an issue. That you just want to.
Well, right. If the
make
other
sure-
party is
yeah.
like, I want it, then you got to start
You
doing
gotta
some
make
research, and you got to put, the legal cases
Yeah.
to bear and say, no, that doesn't belong to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important. It's important to just, and like you said, document,
Right.
and
get some legal advice.
update, and get legal advice.
Oh yeah, making
Mhm.
sure. So look, information is power. That's what I'm taking from. Write it down. It has to be in writing, and get legal representation.
Yes.
Because our job is, as individual citizens, you're not going to know it all. You're not going to keep up with all the changes in laws and all the nuances, and the law has to be interpreted.
Right.
Yeah.
It has to be interpreted by those who have spent their hard-earned money going to law school, getting their degrees,
Right.
and practicing the law. And so that's good, because yes, it is very empowering when you know and you're not making emotional decisions.
Mhm. And that's so
And I
important.
can remember just when it's hard to, when you're feeling emotional, it's hard to make sound decisions.
That's true.
Sometimes you just want to you can keep all of it. I'm out.
Well, now.
You just say, I as long as
I'm
you
done.
be running from the courtroom like Tina Turner. Like, all I want is my name, and I'm
Give me
out.
my name. Hold up. Yeah.
Right. No. And, I will say personally, that can happen where people will push you to the point where you just want to be out. But again, if you get legal advice and you are told, now, if you do this, you can't go back on it, and you make that decision, then that's what
good.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes peace of mind or peace
Yes.
is better than any amount of money.
Priceless.
It's priceless, But making that decision educationally and knowing what you're signing away from, knowing those things is still very important.
What your options are. And I was going to say, you had mentioned about getting some kind of advice. We at Ricks and Associates, you can come and consult with us before
Yes.
you have to make any particular decision,
Yeah,
or you
that's
have
it.
to invest the money in getting divorced. Maybe it's just good to come in and just figure out what your options are and get a consultation.
Yes.
So
That
we are open
sounds-
to that as well.
Yes,
That
we do
sounds
a
way
free
better.
30-minute consultation.
Yeah.
We do free 30-minute consultations,
Oh,
whether in
that's
person
good.
or on Zoom. We do those free consultations just to give you that information, that initial information. And then after that, if you choose to retain us, then we will go into that. But definitely getting that information up front so you can make educational decisions is very important to us at Ricks and Associates.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that,
Yes.
because a lot of us get advice from Google and TikTok
And yeah,
and Instagram,
yeah.
TikTok mostly.
Try to let TikTok go to court for you, though.
Yeah.
'Cause that's
No.
the problem.
No,
TikTok is good, but
you might not get representation.
yes.
So great to know. 30-minute
Yes.
complimentary consultation to let you know, to point you in the right direction.
Yes,
Correct.
yes, and
That's
I think
good.
that that's important so you can get that information and make sure you make sound decisions. Of course, it's ultimately up to you on the decisions that you make, but you can have that information so you can hopefully make better decisions.
And you know what? And I have had many clients who I have talked with, last year,
Mhm.
and then they call back,
Yeah.
and they're still in my phone, and I'm like, ugh. Okay,
Okay.
here
They
we
ready.
go.
They ready.
Right.
Sometimes you gotta get ready.
Yeah.
Right.
They have to get ready.
Get your mind ready.
Get your
Well,
mind
get your
right.
mind, get your
Yeah.
emotions ready.
Yeah.
Know your legal,
Know what
consequences.
you, yeah.
all
Know
of
what
that.
you get ready to get into
Yeah.
as far as the commitment to the time that it takes.
Yes.
You got to get prepared, and so you start gathering some information.
Mhm.
Right, because as you said, in terms of time, a person who does not have children can be divorced inside of 60 to 90 days.
Mm.
Whereas if you have children, it has to be legally in the courts at least 6 months, but generally it's 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's good
Okay.
to know.
Yeah, it's good to know as far as like the myths of being able to
Yeah, let me do it
to
now.
do that.
Well,
and,
no.
and let me get divorced right away and let me do that. And then as far as let's say someone is dealing with a custody issue or they're trying to change when it comes to custody or child support, when should they start getting an attorney involved if they're facing something like that?
Well, what the legal statute says is that, okay, so for example, you have a judgment of divorce
Mhm.
and there are certain parameters. They cannot be changed unless they can establish what's called a change of circumstances.
Okay.
Like, for example, I have a client now who, when the divorce was finalized, he was making $70,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's on disability.
Oh,
So his income has
Mhm.
been greatly reduced.
okay.
So that would be what you call a change of circumstance.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can file a motion with the friend of the court indicating that circumstances have changed since the original calculation of child support. And as a result of that, we need for his child support to be recalculated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has to be what's called a change of circumstances or proper circumstances for them to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, proper
What about
cause,
if
that's
there was
what it
no marriage and let's say they had an original custody arrangement
Mhm.
with the child? Is it the same standard? Like if there's a change of
The
circumstances,
absolute
okay.
same standard,
Okay,
whether you're
sounds
married
good.
or not. And and if you can show a change of circumstances and proper cause, then the friend of the court will look at it and they will decide whether or not what you're alleging rises to that level.
Okay.
Mhm. Speaking of which, if you you were talking about so going to the child support,
Mhm.
what rights does the father have when it comes to child support in the beginning? Is there like a timeline or does it expire for them to prove parent that they're the parent or they're not the parent?
Well,
How does that work?
generally, if there is a question, like say, for example, if the child was born prior to the marriage,
Mhm.
or if there was no
No
marriage,
Yeah.
again, I encourage, and the courts will really require that there be some definitive proof of parentage,
Okay.
meaning that there has to be a DNA test.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the
Mhm.
DNA test will let you know within a certain percentage whether somebody is the
9.99.
actual, well, not the mother,
You
but whether
are
really the father,
the father.
is indeed right.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
are the father.
Okay.
Whether or not that person is actually the parent of that child.
Yeah.
And once that's established, then again, I tell people all the time, the calculation of child support is all about math. It's all about what are the wages of each party
Mhm.
and what are the overnights that each parent has with that child.
Okay.
And those two things go into the calculator and it spits out a number. It's not a matter of mom or dad saying, I want to pay this and I want to pay that. No.
Yeah.
No,
How much do you earn
Uh-huh.
and how many overnights do you have with the kid?
How do I pay
It's
$50?
math. That's it.
Math. That keeps it straightforward.
It does.
Yes. So if nobody is greater than the other, like, why I had to pay 500 and you had to pay 200.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all based
Yeah.
on everybody's situation is based on their specific situation, which is
Wow.
great.
Yeah.
So you can't really say that, it's not fair per se if we put in a calculation because there's nobody involved making that decision per se.
No, it's not subjective.
Okay.
Mhm.
It's totally objective.
Okay.
I've always wondered, why is it called friend of the court?
You know what? I don't know.
I don't know.
What the
That's a myth.
what origination? I guess the friend of the court because That
Friend of the
is
court.
the entity that does those calculations.
Oh.
That is the entity that makes the recommendation ultimately
knows.
to the court.
Yes.
So it's
they're
the friend to the court, not your friend.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But they're friends of the court.
They're friends of the court.
They're friends of the court because they help out the court. Because they, like you said, they give recommendations. They're like a part of the court process where they help.
Yeah.
The families, or per se, to calculate things, and then they give it to the court to give the final decision.
I was just throwing it out there to see if
That's
you all knew you passed the test. And look, because we always talking about you got to go down to the friend of the court.
Right.
You go down to the friend of the court and pay your child support.
But you know what? And I will say
there are no friends down there.
Well, I was gonna say
They
again.
not our friends.
It is good. I tell my clients all the time. It is good if you all can come to a meeting of the minds. Because again, the friend of the court nor the court is really your friend.
Right.
Tell
them, say it again.
So,
it's not
The friend of the court nor the court is your friend. They're
Right.
not designed to be your friend. And that's what a lot of times people say. I had a client too that was just like, I asked them, what did they file? And they said, well, they didn't know what they filed with the court. And then they said, well, I'm going to call the court and find out what I filed. I said, they're not your advisors. You
Tell
see what
about
I'm
it.
saying? So
I'm
they're not designed to say, oh, Miss Jean, yeah, this is what you filed and this is what it was for.
Right.
And this is what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You will never find a clerk that will
Yeah.
be, first of all, that friendly.
Yeah.
And second of all,
Well, some of
will
them
give
are.
you, okay, well, let me say that. So, I mean,
But it depends.
friendly
It's
from
a roll
the
of the
standpoint
dice.
of, friendly from the standpoint of just give you general stuff. But if you're expecting advice to take you that step further, tell you what you filed, why you filed it, and
what it means,
and how effective it's going to be. And I think that's the misconception that people have when they file things in court. They're just like, well, I filed that in court, okay, and then let me go ahead and find out. Well, the clerk didn't tell me that. I hear that all the time.
Yeah, because they just give you basic information, and so that is the importance of why you want to have some trusted advisors. And I'm so glad that you are our first guest.
Wow, I'm proud.
Powerhouse. Listen, Lori dropped some gems today to educate us. I'm educated. I feel more knowledgeable, and thank you so much for bringing in your partner.
Yes.
So before we go today, I want to make sure that we plug our weekend.
Yes.
We're going to be doing a workshop this weekend at my church.
Yes.
Yeah, at Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church. We're doing the Power Pack Church Community Marketplace Workshop, where you can come get equipped, connected, and activated. This is going to be so awesome because we have three presenters this weekend. So it's this Saturday, March 21st, at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can come, and you're going to be you can be a part of our community directory if you are a business owner, if you provide a service. But listen, we're going to do some presentations on legacy by design. You're going to get a financial readiness toolkit. This is a checklist where we talk about the different things that you should be doing in specific seasons of your life, like the 4 quarters of your life. If you're in that first quarter, some foundational things you should be doing. If you're in that second quarter where you're starting to get a little more income, now you can start saving. If you're in that third quarter, now you're building assets. You're in that fourth quarter, now you're looking at legacy planning. And we're going to give you a checklist of some specific financial things that you should focus on in those quarters, and you'll know where to put your resources and where to put your attention. We're also going to have attorney Urenia Ricks Johnson talking about protecting your legacy, some estate planning essentials. So make sure that you come ready to find out what it is that you should be doing. She's going to also have a toolkit as well.
Yes, I do. I have a toolkit. It's going to take you step by step of what you need from the estate planning, where you're at in your estate planning journey, what you need to know now, what you need to know in the future, and just to help you along the way on the following those steps so you can have an effective estate plan. Don't have to go through the pitfalls that we talked about.
Yeah.
We're going to try to help you to protect the wealth that you built.
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of like you're having that complimentary consultation, because when you'll be able to take that and maybe bring it into the meeting, so that that first planning session, and say, well, this is what I need to focus on to get my estate plan done. Because sometimes that can be intimidating for people who've never done it before.
That's true. That's true. And we're going to take all of that red tape out of it. We're going to make it as simple as possible, and we're going to tell people this weekend. So I'm excited.
That's wonderful. My church is so excited to host you as well. And then we're also going to have, by your recommendation, Miss Shayla Crosby of Wonder Pop. She is a career strategist, and she's going to be talking about how to master and navigate corporate spaces, how to break that glass ceiling, how to interview well. She's even asking you to bring your resume.
Yes.
And she's going to go through your resume with you. She's going to do what she calls speed coaching sessions, one-on-one speed coaching, to help you just get to that next step in your career.
Yeah.
So I think this is just a great offering for this weekend. These 3 workshops, the speed coaching, the financial toolkit, the estate planning toolkit, and the community marketplace directory. There are going to be vendors there.
Yes.
We're going to be selling their goods.
Be there.
Yeah.
Unique Closet.
That's right.
Too. Yes.
That's perfect. And so we're excited. We just want you to come out and join us. You're going to leave equipped, connected, and activated. That's right. Yep. Again, we'll be at Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church. That's 21150 Moross Road. The event is free. It's free, but you must register.
Okay.
So there's a QR code on the screen, and we'll also drop it in the chat.
Sounds good. Well, this was a great sense. Thank you, Lori, again for joining us.
God,
We're so glad. We're so glad. You gonna come back and see us?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. We're gonna do a part 2 too. Yeah, we're gonna come back. But thank you all. We're signing off today. But make sure you like, share, and follow Trust Issues Podcast, because we have some great information to share.
Yeah. See you all next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
My goodness! Get ready, Detroit, for a celebration you do not want to miss. Join us for the Sandy Rose celebration, an electrifying evening honoring a powerful legacy of faith, leadership, and impact across gospel music, ministry, media, and community. For decades, this journey has inspired choirs, lifted listeners, strengthened ministries, and changed lives. And now it's time to celebrate. Friday, March 27, 2026 at Hope United Methodist Church, 26275 Northwestern Highway in Southfield, Michigan. Kick off the night with a strolling reception, 5 to 6:30 p.m. with the $50 donation. Get tickets on Eventbrite. Search Sandy Rose Celebration. Then at 6:45, join us in the sanctuary for a musical service and tribute. Free and open to the public. There will be a free will offering. Music, honor, gratitude, legacy. Bring your family, bring your friends. Visit www.sandyrosecelebration.info. That's www.sandyrosecelebration.info. Come and celebrate a life that made a difference in others. See you there. See you there. See you there.
Hello, everybody. This is Brandon Waddles, the son of Detroit, Michigan. Just telling you all to make sure that you keep on watching WVTC Detroit.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.